Welcome back to RGR Craft. My name's Ryan. I'm going rogue with Mike Bunhall. The two of us are going rogue anyway, on the craft beer industry as well as home brewing in all its facets. And home brewing is what we're going to talk about today because a new announcement was made for the PicoBrew systems. Got a big update from the company itself, and that's been kind of a rare thing ever since they went into receivership and their company goods were bought by their funding company that was previously helping them get through their previous challenges with funding, profitability, etc. And a couple of big updates. One is that they plan to keep the servers up indefinitely. That is their plan at the moment. Now, that can change at any moment, but that is the plan. I think that makes everybody feel a little bit better. It doesn't necessarily change any of the other issues that are going on with continued service, parts availability, etc. But it does mean that for the Facebook community, Pico Brewers, that group that has done so much work in getting the Raspberry Pi alternative server ready, that this now doesn't have to be everyone jump in and figure it out right this second. I still intend to run that system though, so I will be trying to recruit some folks from that group to come on the show and give us a lowdown on how and why and et cetera, so that if and when the servers do either get bought and shut down or they do decide to stop funding them, that there is obviously still the alternative. The bigger question for me right now is that they were very adamant in lining out what was going on. Yes, the servers will still be there so that you can continue to brew on your machines, or if you're someone who's newly acquiring either one of the machines that was liquidated or secondhand from a Pico brewer that has decided to move on, there's definitely that future ability to connect to the servers to use the system the way that it was designed to for now. I had actually been a little bit concerned about this. We heard back in May in their last actual update on the website that 5 months or so, 6 months was about what it was. So they came back in that time frame, have now updated us again that the server should be there. That is just part of it, though, because the other thing that they announced in that statement is that they are ongoing in searching for either production partners, a buyer, licensees, and I think that's really intriguing because they had, especially with the Z, the machine that I use, and I think even somewhat the Pico Pro as well, they had gotten to the point where the first couple of generations of the machines had come and gone, and they'd actually improved and they'd gotten stabilized. I brought mine unused and have gone through 16 or 18 brew cycles now without a problem, knock on wood. That's not necessarily true of the older machines. So I think that the maturity of the technology was getting there and the industrial design. And it does need to be somewhat industrial. It's not just a consumer machine. It's definitely not a full pro machine because there are a lot of small pumps and parts and things in there that can break down and that a lot of people have seen break down, but they are replaceable. And so that's really the bigger thing is, are they going to be able to eventually sell the company to someone who is going to try to keep the machines in service, that is going to offer parts and servicing, etc., maybe as well as new models? Or really for this particular company, a purchaser might be really interested in just keeping all the molds, keeping all the design as it is, and be able to find alternate means of producing the machines, hopefully back on American soil, that they could continue as was. And that would allow an income stream. I think where Pico Brew, the company, got into trouble was all the warehousing and all the products and all the different Pico packs and things that they had to keep warehouse. There was a statement in there about that they had to liquidate the merchandise and the holdings in order to clear the warehouse space, which was a huge cost for the company's bottom line. So I think that really played a big part into it. It's not necessarily about the technology. So someone could buy it and keep their production small and not have to get in that same kind of routine. On the other hand, somebody could also license the technology in terms of not just the server, but the design as well, and produce new machines. Hopefully that would mean that they would also be able to produce parts for the existing models. That's complete conjecture at this point, but it would be a nice option should they actually get the company sold to a licensee who then would start doing something new with it. I think it's still a viable model is the biggest piece of information. The fact that they haven't found a purchaser or a licensee yet isn't a concern to me. With the way 2020 has gone, I think that that's a long shot to begin with. So I think time will tell, and the fact that they're willing to keep the servers up and running, that is a cost. I think that does help. It looks like the forum, the actual PicoBrew forum, will be coming down for lack of usage. And for those of you that are PicoBrewers out there, get onto the Facebook group. Pico Brewers is the name. I'm part of that as well. You can find content over there as well as a lot of helpful folks that like these machines and are trying to keep them running. I am doing the same. I will give you more demonstrations, tips and tricks and things. And I actually have something I'm going to be giving away. We'll announce that in another week or two. And I want to make that something that will help someone, either an established Pico brewer or someone getting into it for the first time, because there's a lot of layers of this. And as long as I think cleaning and maintenance of the machines is the most important thing here, hopefully the continued search for a licensee or a buyer will let them produce parts so that these machines can continue on. And then they can evolve and do whatever they want to with the design. I think that that's still something that might be in the cards. It doesn't sound to me like PB Funding wants to actually keep the company. It doesn't sound like it's a long-term goal to rejuvenate it or anything. It does look like they're looking to make a sale or a license or something to get their bottom line, get return on their investment, and then let it evolve into what it's going to evolve. And I think that's fine too. In the meantime, I think it's forward thinking to keep the community happy. It is a customer base that I think is attractive to at least some part of another manufacturer or an upstart, or quite frankly, another Kickstarter kind of thing. You have Beer Maker out of Boulder, Colorado that had been trying to come along with a no boil type setup. Some of that technology might help them get all the way to where they want to be. Part of that machine requires specific hops that have already been pre-isomerized, and I don't know that that's really an availability question or quite frankly, a taste issue with the way that those beers come out. I have not used it, but I have tasted some that have been made on Beer Maker. But that's my thought, is the technology for PicoBrew. I think for the all-in-ones, the countertop machines, I think it's clearly the most advanced in terms of iterations and generations. Having dealt with issues, changed design, come back. I wouldn't call it a mature product, but I think it's the most mature of the set tops, the desktops, whatever you want to call them. And so for others that are still trying to venture down that road, even other manufacturers with other design schemes, the technology itself may help them. And so you might be able to get to the point where you see a conglomeration of the industry in terms of what they produce. Could Grainfather eventually come along and say, it's a smaller version of a system that is doing something similar to like what we want to do? Maybe we'd like to buy that or license it and build our own version that would go and coincide with the G70 and the main Grainfather, the V1, that is very popular as well. A lot of the performance, a lot of the concepts are the same in terms of being able to automate matching steps, etc., the boil, moving it all around. I think, honestly, the more miniaturized you get from, say, a Riptide from Blickman on a full-blown 10-gallon system, the more miniaturized you get, the more problems you run into. So I think, again, any manufacturer, beer maker, Grainfather, anybody who wants to stay in that business or evolve in that business of all-in-one devices, not only for entry, but for people like me that pilot a lot, do a lot of small batches to get ideas out that would generally take, brewing every weekend all the time on huge batches, and then, quite frankly, drinking way too much to get through that. I think that this is still a viable concept. And I'd like to see the industry combine and take advantage of the PicoBrew technology. And again, make the parts available, because that's the key thing right now for those that own them, those that might be interested in helping assist the next design phase. I would be one of them. I'd be happy to do any kind of beta testing for someone who wants to license PicoBrew's technology or wants to revive PicoBrew itself, or even combine it with one of the other companies. So that's the big announcement for PicoBrew this week. And I wanted to get that out right away because a lot of folks haven't been noticing that. It was out a couple of days before I ran into it. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody who has interest in these machines gets this information. So I'm going to continue. Like I said, another week or two, we're going to have I'm going to do a giveaway. I have a couple of things that I'd like to get out to the community free of charge. I'll even pay for the shipping, not a big deal. But I want to get it in somebody's hands that can really use it. So I have a couple of things coming. Keep it tuned here. One of the requirements will be that you're a subscriber to this channel. So like this video, subscribe to this channel, hit the bell notification so you get more information when we drop more videos. Mike and I are going to be back next week. We're going to start a new series as we go through some of the things in evolving your brewing. And we're going to start with a topic that I'm not so keen on, but we're going to go through our brew disasters and what we learned from them. I have a couple of doozies in there as well. So I will say that. Cheers to you. Thanks for checking this one out. Make sure you like, sub, and do the rest, and I'll catch you next time.